Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast today with Jacob Maggard
Colin Richardson.
and welcome back to another week of NFL football. Obviously, had another really fun week. A lot of good, close football games. Had some very interesting games that we'll talk about here in just a second, and obviously some teams that were not favorites getting some big victories. But of course, if you guys are here, like, subscribe, comment helps the channel a ton. We're up to 75 subscribers on the channel, so we're getting there. We're rolling, trying to get to 100 here soon. Again, expect a college football to NFL mock because those players playing there. Probably looking to do that here soon. Maybe try to get it out over the weekend or maybe next week. And then playoff baseball video just come out talking about the last series. And then I'll be talking about college football, of course, on Thursday for the pick'ems of this upcoming week. Obviously, we'll have a very fun one on there because we'll get a little bit of brotherly banter from Dalton and Julio, who have been on the podcast before for college football. But we'll dive into these NFL games, starting with our first one here that took place on Thursday. It was actually a pretty fun game for the first half, but in the second half, the Giants woke up and really, really played some football. Cam Skattebo was awesome, going for nearly 100 yards, three touchdowns, catches passes out of the backfield like a high-level pass catcher as well. Dart was great. I don't think there was any negatives really with this Giants team. They do have to find probably a lead pass catcher besides Skattebo because he seems to do it for them a lot. So I don't know what will happen there. And then their pass rush was really, really fun. They get after Hurts. I think they got him a couple times. But if anything, they were able to stop Barkley from going crazy in this game too. That they get after him. Probably one of their better parts of their team is that pass rush and defensive line as a whole. Of course, you look at the Eagles side of things. This is a pretty tough loss. The Giants were a team you were definitely favored over. You definitely should have won this game. Hurts didn't actually do too bad through the air, 24 for 33, 283 yards and a touchdown. Goddard was incredible again. Almost had 10 catches and 110 yards and a touchdown. So great week from him. I think he's done that 2 weeks in a row. But they still don't really have A.J. Brown going. Devonta Smith didn't do too much this week. So it'll be interesting to see what they do because they're starting to get pretty mad and now they're losing games. So things are all going downhill right now. And for the Giants, man, does that rookie combo look like it could be good? What was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think the Eagles it's starting to get a little scary for them. That's back-to-back losses now, and like you said, AJ Brown's not very happy. The offense didn't play very good, especially in the second half. And then for the Giants, that is like the first time they've had something to look forward to in a while here with Scattaboo and Dart. They both played very, very good.
Yeah.
And then for the Eagles, I really feel like if they can get Barkley back going again, like he was last year, which is a ton to ask for, obviously, because he was incredible last year. But if they can get him going again, I think they'll be fine. But I know that if they keep this up, the AJ Brown is not probably happy with
Yeah.
Goddard being the leading receiver again.
Yeah,
So
I think there's a world where A.J. Brown might ask for a trade at some point this
yeah,
year. I don't even think that's a far-fetched idea with the fact that Goddard and Smith are getting more passes than he is. And I think even like Jahan Dotson may have out reception 1 week or out targeted him 1 week. So I don't know. It's a little bit scary for the Eagles right now.
there was a video of him running his route. He kind of like stopped running, and then Hurts threw it to him, and he overthrew him. But AJ Brown had already stopped running his route pretty much. So yeah, it was just a tough time to be an Eagles fan. Although they are 4-2, they should be fine. But
Yeah. Yeah, that whole week was pretty bad if you were a Philly sports fan.
yeah,
Uh, the Phillies go on and lose in the way that they lost, which is one of the worst ways you can lose a game with an error on a ground ball to the pitcher, where it was a force out at first base. They throw it behind the plate. Then you have to watch the Eagles literally right after lose to your division rival Giants, who you really don't like. And then the Flyers, if they care about hockey, lost their opening night game as well. So a lot of losing for what is a relatively successful sports city. So it was kind of funny to see some of them. They're like, I saw one guy, Barstool guy, and he said, "I want a permanent buy from sports." So rough week for them. They don't have a lot to complain about though. They got a Super Bowl literally this year in February. So they've got things to look forward to. I don't expect them to fall off. Moving on to this next game here, one that if you woke up at 9:30, you probably wish you had slept in. It was probably one of the worst games that you'll see when it just comes to the offenses. Neither one of them wanted to win this game. It was an extremely ugly football game. I think it literally says it in the title for the game. Justin Fields had one of the worst games I've ever seen a quarterback have in my life. Unfortunately, I had Mason Taylor off of this offense because of back-to-back weeks he was targeted like 9 times and then 12 times, and then this week he had one target. So it was phenomenal to have any role in this fantasy offense. I have Justin Fields in the league as well. They were horrible. And then the Broncos, again, not much better. They got lucky to score early in the game and then were able to win it with a field goal in the fourth. Their defense still looks really good. I think the Broncos defense can carry them throughout the season if they have these kinds of struggles again. Evan Ingram got going, which is kind of the first time we've seen that Joker role, as he calls it, in the offense get going. I think they'd like to see that happen again, the Joker get going. But Dobbins didn't perform at a high level. Harvey didn't really do much out of the backfield. Sutton was controlled completely. So really interesting game. The Broncos get a win, and a win is a win. And the Jets are 0-6, and they looked like an 0-6 football team this week. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think this was probably New York's one of their better chances of getting a win this season. Not because the Broncos are bad, just because of how bad they played this game.
Mhm.
And they just could not get anything done offensively. I saw a stat, I guess it was for team passing yards, negative 10 yards, accounting for sacks and everything. So that's definitely rough. I I convinced my dad to start Justin Fields this week in fantasy too. He was not happy about that.
Oh,
And then from J.K. Dobbins, he had been solid all year. He didn't even have a good game.
yeah.
I'm not really sure what happened over there in London this week, but hopefully these offenses can do more than that. Because if not, it's going to be a ugly rest of the year for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could,
You would expect the Broncos to wake back up, but
right.
that's
Just a rough game overall for both teams, honestly. The Broncos, you got to be happy getting out of London with a win, though.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, again, a win's a win, and you did it overseas. So
right.
get out of there, come back home, and try to get right, which is going to be tough to do after that performance. But we'll move on down to the next one here. Cardinals taking on the Colts in what ended up being a really fun game, even without Kyler Murray playing. Jacoby Brissett showed why he is one of those sought-after backup quarterbacks. Threw for a ton of yards, had 44 pass attempts, had the 2 touchdowns. Was able to find Zay Jones as his lead receiver. Marvin Harrison also in this game is not fully healthy anymore, going to miss time. So the Cardinals are kind of falling apart. The Titans loss definitely seems like it did something to them, and it blew that game again to back-to-back weeks now where you blew games to AFC South teams. One of them sucks, the other one's really good, so it doesn't feel as bad this game, but it does feel bad that you have to play that, still have to play the other teams in that conference. You don't want to show up and do that again. Um, the Colts obviously moved to 5-1, and I believe they are the number one team in the AFC right now. They are holding the number one spot, and I don't think anybody would have told you they were going to be this good. Again, I think we talked about it. We didn't think they'd even win this division, and now they're the leading team in the entire AFC. So if you are a fan of them, props to you for holding on and having success with Daniel Jones and obviously the key player, Jonathan Taylor, who is the best running back in football right now. I don't think it's particularly close. He rushes for over 100 once again, has another touchdown on the ground, has been easily the best fantasy player as well. Consistency each and every week has scored, I don't know, 20 plus points. So, JT, great for them. And the Colts get another big win, 31-27. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's like 2007. You got Peyton Manning for the Colts, Philip Rivers for the Chargers, Brady for the Patriots, and Roethlisberger for the Steelers as your top teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
Kind of a throwback there. Uh, Jonathan Taylor has been really impressive this year. He's always been solid, but I feel like this year he's really
Yep.
excelled like he was maybe not the past couple years, but kind of like back in his prime.
Mhm.
And then Brissett did a really good job filling in. He hit. I know Trey McBride had a pretty big day. I've got
Yep.
him in fantasy, so I know that's the
Yeah.
only reason I know that. But like you said, he's a sought-after backup quarterback. I know in Cleveland he beat Pittsburgh once or twice, so he's definitely a solid quarterback. And I don't know how long Kyler's going to be out, but they should be okay with Brissett. in at quarterback. Although they are now 2-4, I don't know what the schedule looks like coming up, but could be a rough season for the Cardinals. They're probably looking to maybe make the playoffs this year, but I'm not sure that that's going to happen now.
I just don't see it. I think the injuries have really hurt them. I mean, you're talking about they've now lost the starting quarterback, their wide receiver one, their running back one, and their running back two. They were down to the point where they were starting Bam Knight in this game at running back. I love football. Talk about it all the time. I don't know if I knew who Bam Knight was. So
No idea.
yeah, I mean, I knew Michael Carter as the RB3, but the RB4 and Bam Knight never. I just had not heard that name. If I have, it's definitely left my brain. So that's
Yeah.
rough. Zay Jones, lead receiver. Heard the name, obviously know Zay Jones, but that's your lead receiver. This felt like a Frankenstein team they had put together. Jacoby Brissett, Bam Knight, and Zay Jones were your superstars in this one. So we'll see what they can do the rest of the way. They have to bounce back soon, otherwise the season's going to pretty much be over. And the Colts, wow, driver's seat in the AFC. Moving on to our next one here, like you said with the Chargers, they've got themselves up there at the top of the conference, playing really good football. Got a huge win here. Was able to do it late too. Justin Herbert kind of leads that final drive and gets them the big play. Obviously, to Lad McConkey was the huge moment. Another big thing on that play was you saw blockers downfield for McConkey making plays too. Their other skill positions making huge blocks, and that's a Harbaugh thing. He is really teaching this culture to have a culture, a winning culture. He had it at Michigan. Now he's got it over with him in the NFL. The guys want to win these games. They are playing their hardest to go ahead and get these victories. So huge for the Chargers. I love Justin Herbert. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I love Lad McConkey. I'm glad he's finally picked it back up and got back to where he seems like their lead target. And that was on the back of Quentin Johnston not playing. So McConkey had to be more of a star, and they just proved that he can be a star if he has to be. For the Dolphins, they played good again. They were in the game. We talked about it, how they've been in a lot of these games. They just can't ever win it because they don't seem to have a winning culture, which the other side has. Now 1-5. Devon Achane was amazing. 128 yards, two touchdowns on the ground, and he obviously catches passes like one of the best in the league. So great day from him. But again, they lose another close one, and it almost feels like they can go ahead and book it in for the season at 1-5. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, good win here for the Chargers. One thing I do want to note is Tua again threw three interceptions this game, and then in the post game conference, he goes and starts calling out teammates for not showing up to player only meetings, which I think is something you can call them out, but maybe not to the media,
Right.
especially after you just threw three interceptions in a really close game. So maybe maybe not the time for that. Achan with a huge game, and then Herbert, like we've discussed previously, he's definitely up there in MVP talks. I'm
Yeah.
sure after the past couple of weeks, the Chargers haven't looked as good, so maybe bump him down a spot or two, but he's definitely up there.
Mhm.
And then another good game for Lad McConkey. So we'll see how the Chargers do the rest of the season, but I think you're right about the Dolphins maybe being done for the year.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like there's much of a chance. It also feels like McDaniel could be the next guy fired. Uh, talk about later about one of the greatest decisions in NFL history made. But we'll go ahead and move on down to Patriots Saints here. It actually ended up being a really fun game. The Saints have played some pretty good football here recently. I'll give props to Spencer Rattler too. He's figured out how to use his main target in Chris Olave. Really got him going in this one, 6 for 98. Kamara being the leading rusher in a game when he averages 3 yards a carry is something, I guess I'll say. That just shows you the Patriots' inability to use their backfield as successfully at all. I mean, Henderson seems like he's just not a part of this offense. They don't use Ramondre during the middle sections of the field, but I guess it doesn't really matter when Drake May is awesome. So he's looked really, really good. 18 or 18 completions and has 261 yards. So that's really great. Doing a lot through the air in those pass attempts. Has the three touchdowns. Obviously brings his own rushing upside as well. So he's part of the rushing offense. That may be why he may have been split all the rushing yards between three or four players. But success from the Patriots. They kind of seem like they found their guy. They have another franchise quarterback, it looks like, in Drake May. So what was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, great game by Drake May. I think he is the real deal for sure. One concern for the Patriots would be maybe to get the run game going. I know they kind of have split backs, but it didn't really look like either of them could get things going this game,
No.
which could be concerning going forward. But when with Drake May, it's not as big of a concern as maybe for some other teams. And then, like you said, with the Saints, Rattler played really good, so maybe I don't know if he's your guy, but he's definitely solid moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a top position of need for the Saints in the draft or anything, unless there's something there that you just can't skip on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But for the Patriots, I think they're a really good team. Great turnaround from last year for
Yeah.
sure. And I think the Diggs to May has been really impressive so far this year as well. I'm not sure how it was this game, but overall it's been really good this year, which is good to see Diggs kind of back into a leading receiver role.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he figured things out again. I think Kayshon Boutte was the lead guy this game. Had a big catch. He obviously had a great game to start the year. I think the first game of the season he went off and then kind of has been in the back, not doing as much lately. But Diggs has been great. I think he had one catch that was ruled out of bounds that would have been like a huge play, and I think Diggs would have been the leading receiver in this game. So you make that one catch, yeah, I think he'd have been like over 100 on the day because it was like a 50-yard reception. So yes, the connection there has been really, really good. And Drake May just so calm and really, really makes plays. When he has to make plays, he does it. Also, Mike Vrabel's a great coach. I think that he was a great coach for the Titans. The way things ended is the reason he was fired. I mean, you can't have no success for two straight seasons. And I hate that it happened the way it did. It almost feels like he just wasn't provided with the assets to go be successful because now that he has them again, he's performing at a pretty good level with the Patriots. The Titans will have to play them next week, so that'll be an interesting one. We'll go ahead and move on down to the Browns and Steelers. I know you probably had a lot of fun watching this one because the Steelers were in control for a lot of the game. Aaron Rodgers looks really good again. We were talking about it before we started filming the video, but when you go look at just passer rating alone, he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's always been so consistent at keeping the ball in his possession. Only has 3 interceptions on the season through 6 games now, or 5 games now. So again, he keeps the ball in your possession. He is far better than quarterback play they've had for a long time, and it's kind of showing. They can win these games now without having to have someone have some ridiculous day. You know, like Najee Harris had to run for 150 yards or something for them to win a game, and their defense or their defense score like 3 or 4 touchdowns, and or Boswell kicked 6 field goals. I mean, it always felt like they needed something else. And now they've got a quarterback that can go out and win them a game. So this is really, really good for the Steelers. And their defense, man, it's been really good this year. They've been able to just control teams, keep games really low scoring, which just favors them even more because they have a guy like Rodgers who's very good at keeping the ball in his team's possession. The Metcalf connection is definitely there now. They've got it. I think this is like a couple weeks in a row, maybe 3 weeks in a row, that they've had success going to DK Metcalf and letting him make big plays. You think that this Steelers team will probably pursue maybe a receiver at the deadline to add to that receiver room? And at this point, they look like one of the best teams in the AFC. They have a huge lead in their division, which is really, really good. I'm hyping them up a ton. I know you love hearing that, so I'll go ahead and let you talk about them.
yeah, this was a great game for Pittsburgh. I'd say this is the best overall game they've played. Obviously, it was against 1-5 Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still an NFL team.
Hmm.
This was, I will say, the 22nd straight regular season win for Pittsburgh over Cleveland in Acrisure Stadium.
Woo!
Well, I won't mention why I had to say regular season win. Uh, we'll just skip over that part. And then I think this game definitely it showed who the better pass rusher was. The best pass rusher was in the league as Jalen Ramsey led both teams with 2 sacks.
Yes.
But they were able to kind of prevent Myles Garrett from going off. He only had 2 assisted tackles the whole game and no sacks, so that was huge for him. And then one thing that they have been doing, they have Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, and Darnell Washington, the huge tight end. And they've been running a package with 6 offensive linemen plus Darnell Washington, which is basically 7 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
He's over 300 pounds. That's why they've been able to run the ball so effectively in the past few weeks. he's not as much of a pass threat as your Jonnu Smith or Pat Freiermuth, but he's with his ability to block is why he's been getting more of a snap share than both of those guys.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to watch moving forward. I know Freiermuth was pretty unhappy after the past two games with his snap count, but so maybe he's traded or something, which would be unfortunate. But he's not really getting on the field that much right now, anyways.
It does feel like that system was suited for Jonnu, of course, but
Right.
the coordinator coming over.
Yeah, for sure. And then for Cleveland, I think Dylan Gabriel, he threw the ball 52 times this game, which is something you really don't want with a rookie quarterback, especially playing a pass rush like Pittsburgh's, who had 16 quarterback hits this week and 6 sacks. So I feel like that's something that can really just like mess up a rookie quarterback if
Yeah.
it's like that every week. So they probably want to avoid that if possible moving forward.
Yeah, I may or may not have watched my quarterback get hit 16 times, maybe 20 times. I don't know what the number is, but I have seen my own quarterback get hit a lot, and it has definitely hurt his confidence as a player. It definitely does not help when you don't think you have time to make plays. When you're in the pocket and you're constantly thinking, when's the next hit I'm taking? That hurts you. It doesn't allow you to make your reads because you're constantly thinking about pressure. The Browns' offensive line isn't the worst in the league, but the Steelers were able to get after him and make plays. Do want to give more props to the Steelers. You talked about that run game. They're able to use different guys now too. They prove that they have some help in the backfield for Warren. It's not Caleb Johnson either. It seems that they may use him in different ways. Maybe next year if they part ways with one of these two older running backs. But for the time being, they don't need him. They're running the ball fine without him. And then for the Browns. Quinshon Judkins finally had his worst day. I think that speaks a lot about the Steelers' defense. They were able to shut him down completely, and it wasn't like this was a game that they couldn't run the ball. It was 9-6, or yeah, 9-3 at halftime. So you can still run the ball in a 9-3 football game, and the Steelers were just really good at containing it and keeping him from busting off one of those big long runs like he's had. I don't know how many carries he had, but I do know he was held under 30 yards, I think, or under 40 yards. So really impressive from them to just completely shut him down and completely shut down that pass rush from the Browns, which is probably the best part of their team overall. Moving on to our next one here, got the Cowboys taking on the Panthers in an unbelievable game from Rico Dowdle. Goes 30 carries, 183 yards, but on top of that has 50 receiving yards, equaling out to 239 scrimmage yards for Rico Dowdle, who is the best running back in the NFL. This guy is unbelievable. I think that the Panthers have all but guaranteed that he'll start next week, even if Chuba Hubbard returns. I don't know how you bench a guy when he almost ran for 200 yards in back-to-back weeks. Other than that, in this game, another insane stat line coming from George Pickens. 9 catches, 168 yards, and a touchdown. Dak Prescott has easily found his favorite target with CeeDee Lamb sitting on the sidelines with an injury, and it almost seems like George Pickens is more than thrilled to step into that lead target role because he loves when he is the lead guy. Dak goes 25 for 34, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like I said, over half of his yards going to one guy in George Pickens. But it did look like the Cowboys were missing their superstar, Enrico Dowdle, as he ended up in Carolina in the offseason. Obviously, that was the biggest player they lost that we've talked about all year. What were your thoughts here on this unbelievable performance from the Panthers?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love Chuba Hubbard to come back and start, because I've got him in fantasy, there's just no way.
No, you
I
can't
mean,
bench this
for
guy.
the last 2 weeks that Dowdle's had, I think he led the team in receiving and obviously rushing. Yeah, I don't think there's any way. I mean, he kind of just came out of nowhere and it just took the league by storm. He told Dallas to buckle up, and I don't guess they buckled up. He took him for a ride for sure.
Yeah.
And then for Dallas, George Pickens has been unbelievable for them. Man, what I love to see him and Metcalf side by side in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if it'd work out with both of their mentalities being number one receivers, but I would definitely love to see it for like a week or two, maybe until one of them get mad.
Yeah.
Uh, and then Bryce Young, he played good this game. And then if Dallas just had any defense at all, they would be a really, really good football
Yeah.
team. Definitely would be better than 2-3 right now. they like you said, lost their superstar in Rico Dowdle, but obviously they lost Michael Parsons as well, which is a huge piece on their defense. So that's definitely hurting them right now. But I think Dallas is going to be fine. I think they're a really good team,
Yeah.
especially if they can get the defense going. But the Panthers were able to take care of them here.
Yeah, and they can only get better too, which is what's scary for this offense. They're about to get CeeDee Lamb back. It seems that he's going to go practice on Wednesday, which will be when this video is coming out. So I guess you guys can look into that and see if he does. But that reports are he will practice, and once he returns, man, you got to think that they're going to be unstoppable because Javonte Williams, although they lost Rico Dowdle, has been really good for them in the running game. Jake Ferguson has been the tight end one in fantasy, which is crazy. And then on top of that, George Pickens is perfect in the wide receiver one role. And then when he steps back into that wide receiver two role, it allows CeeDee Lamb to get more freed up in coverage because teams now can't ignore George Pickens. So I don't know how they're going to handle this. I mean, it's going to be really, really hard to stop those two receivers on the outside unless one of their egos gets in the way. And I don't think it'll be CDs. I think that Pickens, there's going to be some question marks. Will he be unhappy when he was being this all loved by Dak Prescott, and then Prescott goes back to targeting CD more? So we'll see what happens. I think Pickens, if he's a professional now, he's been in the league for a while, he'll understand that, CeeDee Lamb is one of the top three guys in all of football, but you never know. You never know what could happen. Things could crumble very quickly. Dallas definitely has a front office that won't help anybody. So we'll see what ends up happening there. And then last but not least for the Panthers, just to mention it, give a shout out to a guy in Teteroa McMillan scoring his first NFL touchdown and his second on only three catches in this game. He finds the end zone twice and is a huge reason why Bryce Young had a good day and the Panthers were able to get a victory here. The Panthers, they didn't look like a bad football team in this game. They're 3-0 at home, so maybe the Panthers can just win all their home games this year and finish at 500 and then drop all the road games. But obviously, they'd like to win some more games, get in that competition. Don't think they're a playoff team. I just can't see it. I don't think the roster's good enough. But they could have some fun this year and at least be a fun team to watch for the fans. And if Rico Dowdle's doing this every week, maybe there's a way they find this offense to be really, really good for the rest of the year and they can start scoring a ton of points. And then again for Dallas, like you said, man, Dak Prescott would be an MVP favorite if his team could win football games. He's having a really, really good year. I think he'll probably keep it up the rest of the way. Again, he can only get better when he adds back one of the best weapons in all of football. So we'll see what happens the rest of the year with the Cowboys and Panthers, but I don't know how much I think either one of them can be a playoff team this season. We'll roll on into this next one here. And here's two teams I think can be playoff teams based on the way they've played the first 6 weeks. The Seahawks get a huge win here against the Jags, who are coming off one of their most important wins they've had in a long time in this franchise, beating the Chiefs in a really close one and a fun game. Sam Darnold has stepped in and become the guy for the Seahawks. They definitely made the right decision in moving Geno when they moved him. He stepped off the cliff and fell off as a quarterback, and Sam Darnold picked it up and stepped into an offense that is now rolling on all cylinders. Neither team ran the ball well at all. Travis Etienne finally had that game we all thought he could do, which is just not be very good. After last year, it wasn't all that impressive. And then Ken Walker goes 10 for 34, and this is not a good day from him either. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a monster. 8 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. Stepped into the wide receiver one role and taken it with run away with it. There's nobody else even competing for targets. And then on the other side, for Trevor Lawrence, man, you can't throw interceptions and you can't play bad football. And it just seems like the Jaguars have a habit of doing that every once in a while. They've done it twice this year, and their two losses just randomly played really bad offensive football. So they do get a loss here from that. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. And for the Seahawks, really good win to move to 4-2. Both of them still sitting the top of the conferences and still both look like potential playoff teams. But big win for the Seahawks there. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Sam Darnold, he played really good again. I think he's been a really great pickup for Seattle. And then, like you said, with Smith and Jigba, he's like emerging into a superstar right now.
Yeah,
I wish his brother could have done the same in baseball.
yeah,
A former Pirates prospect.
yeah,
If they can get the run game going with Kenneth Walker, they could be really dangerous. He
yeah.
didn't have the best of games, but I really wish Trevor Lawrence could have continued his development. He just kind of struggled. I mean, he hasn't really struggled. He's had an okay year, but he's just not like the superstar you thought they were getting whenever they drafted him first overall. I think he was like one of the highest rated quarterbacks since Andrew Luck or something, and
Yeah.
that's just what the Jaguars have got. They paid him, and he probably deserves to be paid because he's not a bad quarterback, but he's just not the superstar that they were hoping for.
Yeah, and it's almost a rough situation to be in. We're in a league where it's really hard to find great quarterbacks, and when you have one that's good and still young, you just hope he breaks out and becomes a great quarterback. So it is really difficult to find the right ones and pay the right guys. Obviously, Baker Mayfield is a perfect example of one that got away, and now, man, the Browns are all their fans are hating the front office for life because he looks like a top 10, maybe top five quarterback in the NFL. So it just you gotta make that decision, and it seems the Jaguars may have overpaid him just solely based on what he's given them on the field. But he is still a solid quarterback, just nothing special, which is what you expect when you pay a guy that much money. Moving into our next game here, another one that will bring a smile to Searish's face, and that is the Ravens are now 1-5. This is probably the worst Ravens team I've seen in I don't even know how long, 18 years, as Harbaugh's been there the entire time. This might be the worst team. They moved on to Huntley at the end of the game. He looked far better than Cooper Rush, so I think he probably would start if they have any more Lamar Jackson injuries. It does seem he'll come back after the bye week. It almost feels like this team is maybe out of the playoff rate. I mean, you can only lose two more games the rest of the way, and then you're toast. So 10-7 is about a playoff team, and 9-8 you might sneak in, but the AFC looks pretty strong at the top, and we have teams underperforming like a Chiefs who are going to make the playoffs. So it just seems like it's going to be really hard for the Ravens to find a way in. And then for the Rams, Stafford actually didn't go off. The Ravens did play pretty good on defense. Other than the third quarter, they were great on defense. And then other positives for the Ravens, Derrick Henry got going again. It kind of seems like the simple answer for the last 2 weeks may have just been hand him the ball a little bit more, let him get going. Because me as a Titans fan, I remember when Derrick Henry played with us, everybody said all the time is, oh, he carries the ball 30 times. That's why he runs for 150 yards. I don't care. If he has 150 yards, let him have the ball 30 times. It doesn't like it's not a hard football decision to give the guy 100 or 30 carries. So they finally did that. The offense looked a little bit better, but they still just didn't score any points. And Zay Flowers has a pretty solid day as well. Puka, that's the big story in this one, does face what could be a really bad injury. That is very scary. If it is something severe, you'd assume the Rams would probably take a pretty big step back on their offensive side just because of how important he's been. I think he's like up in the top three in the NFL in yards. So we'll see what happens there. It's great that they went out and added Devontae Adams now. If Puka's out for some time, he can easily be a wide receiver one. He's been that in the league for a long time. I still expect the Rams to be pretty good without Puka, but they'll obviously take a pretty big hit for how successful he's been. Again, great team in the Rams. I think they're definitely one of those NFC teams that can compete for the playoffs and maybe push for an NFC championship. The Ravens, I mean, we're getting close to just calling it a season, and I think when Harbaugh, if it eventually happens, I think Harbaugh will get fired, and that will be a crazy thing to happen because I still think he's a solid coach. Your thoughts overall on this game here?
Yeah, like you said, two more losses, maybe three, and you're pretty much out of the playoffs. I really never expected this from the Ravens. I know that Lamar is out, but I still thought they would find a way to win a game or two here
Yeah,
while
I
he's
mean,
been injured. And I mean, even with Derrick Henry going for 24, it carries 122 yards, they still only managed to put up 3 points. So I don't really know what's going on there. The defense, it did play better. They played. I was honestly expecting the Rams to go off like uh, who I
Houston,
can't remember who they played last week, but they put
Houston,
up 41 points. I was kind of expecting one of those games, especially how the Rams have been playing. But I think the Puka injury definitely helped the Ravens in a way to where the Rams weren't able to score as much. And then I'm not sure why the Ravens were starting Cooper Rush to begin with. I'm not saying Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowl quarterback, but he did make a Pro Bowl.
yeah, yeah, he did.
I think he's a better quarterback than Cooper Rush, especially with the offense that they try to run there
Yes.
in Baltimore. I'm not sure why he wasn't starting to begin with. Maybe, like you said, we'll see if he starts, if Lamar's out any more games. I think they have a bye week coming up, which
Mhm.
will be huge for them.
Yeah.
Maybe get Lamar back. They definitely need need some time though, and then we'll see how they look the rest of the season. And Important win for the Rams. I mean, they were playing a beat up Ravens team, but still a win's a win in the NFL.
Yeah, and again, you nailed it with the system. Maybe Cooper Rush is a better quarterback, passing specifically, but Snoop Huntley, he fits the system perfect. He literally when he come in the game, I saw a Ravens fan reacting to the game and he goes, "Is that Lamar Jackson?" Because he ran because Snoop Huntley took off and ran for a first down, and he was like, "Oh, nope, never mind." He said, I thought Lamar was back out of nowhere." And it was just because Snoop plays the game very, very similar to the way Lamar plays. He fits the system of being able to take off, make a play with his legs. They can even call a design run for him. You aren't calling design runs for Cooper Rush. So it just it seemed like a bad decision. I think maybe because they paid Cooper Rush, they wanted to play Cooper Rush. But at this point, it just seems like that was a horrible mistake, that he just doesn't fit that system at all. We'll go ahead and move past the Ravens, or the Ratbirds, as I'll be calling them, until they start winning some games. We'll talk about the Titans here, who are also a horrible football team. But man, was my day made when I saw Brian Callahan has been fired. It was the most joyous moment that I'll have this entire season as a Titans fan, unless like Cam Ward has a 400-yard passing game or something. Unbelievable decision by the front office. I'll give him a little round of applause for that decision. Thank goodness he's out the door. He finishes with a 4-19 record. He was, if they lose that Cardinals game, would have had the single worst in the history of the NFL. But because he won that game, he was able to get the win that pushed him over the winning percentage total to 4-19 instead of 3-20. He is awful. I have no idea how he kept his job past like week 3. Whenever the first like two of the first 3 games, he single-handedly cost us the Broncos game. We would have won that game without his decisions. And in the Rams game before the half, he just gives them points, free points. So I mean, he was an absolute idiot. It's the only thing I can say about it is he's one of the worst coaches I've ever seen coach in the sport. They do have something to go and play for now, maybe show how bad he was, maybe go out and win a game or two just to put it rub it in his face a little bit. Other things to say, Cam Ward again really struggled in this game, but I think a lot of it's just a lack of confidence. He fumbled twice. One of them he got. We blocked 7 people. We blocked 7 people, running back, tight end, and 5 guys. And Devin White hit Cam Ward when he touched the ball. The ball hit his hands. He was hit immediately. Ball comes flying out. They get the ball on the 2 yard line, and that's how they score their first touchdown. That wasn't really on him. There was nothing he could have done. He had no decision other than just get smoked, and the ball comes out. After that, he throws a really bad interception before the half. A lot of that being the fact that he was pressured once again. He got hit while he was throwing. The ball gets tipped up. Devin White picks it off. So Devin White just had the game of his life since he left the Buccaneers, where at one point in time, Devin White was considered one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He just kind of fell off a cliff. This might be his bounce back game. He played really good. Crosby got after Ward a couple times. I think one of the sacks he got up and did his celebration. And then after the game, they kind of asked Crosby about it in an interview and said, did you do that? I mean, obviously. And he said, I actually think it's a cool celebration, so I did it kind of in like props to him for making the league. But he was like, obviously, I was going to do his celebration at some point if I got to him. But then he said, I love this. I love hearing this as a Titans fan. He said, if you're a Titans fan, he said, I think Cam Ward's one of those guys that just has that mentality. He said, he'll stand in there and take a million hits to try to deliver plays. He said, if you ever watch Patrick Mahomes play, he holds the ball too long. He was like, Cam Ward does that too and wants to make plays. And he said, you obviously have to have some real talent if you're going to make plays when you hold the ball too long. 'Cause sometimes that is a kill you if you hold the ball too long. But he did give him props and say he seemed like one of the better rookie quarterbacks he had played. So that's at least positive to come out of that one. Other things that are positive, not a lot. Truthfully, Van Jefferson finally plays well, one of the signings we had in the offseason. I wish we would give a couple other players a chance. I think Ellick still looks pretty good. Gunnar Helm played all right, and Jeffrey Simmons is an absolute game wrecker. He is a monster. I don't know if there's a better D tackle in football. I think I would give him the one up over Dexter Lawrence at this point. If the Titans wanted to trade him, which I don't think we should do because he's under contract for 2 more years, they could probably get a first round pick plus out of him. So one of the rumored trades, I wouldn't do it because it's for an aging, older veteran receiver. But the rumored trade was DJ Moore and a pick for Jeffrey Simmons, and then they would improve their defense immediately. The Bears, I think, would do that in a heartbeat because that gets Luther Burden on the field, who they just drafted, and then also gets Rome Odunze on the field, and they don't even really need DJ Moore anymore. But I, as a Titans fan, I would hate that trade just because DJ Moore's an older receiver. If I want to make a trade with Jeffrey Simmons, it's got to be a first round pick and more, or a first round pick and a player that can come in and do something for us. Last but not least, the Raiders didn't look great in this game. The Titans just looked a lot worse. And I think that speaks volumes to how bad the coaching staff was. But also, Genty played okay. I mean, the rushing yards weren't incredible. He had a couple decent carries, but again, we were containing him pretty well. A lot of what he did was in late game when they were running the clock out to beat us. And Ward did have a passing touchdown to put on top of a day that was kind of rough. He ended up doing all right in the fourth quarter. Overall, obviously, rest of the season, I just want to see Ward get better. That's the most important thing, and just see him get his confidence back, and just see if we can win a game or two here or there. And truthfully, let's lose a bunch so we can go get Ruben Bain because that dude looks like a freak at Miami. When we talk about that mock draft we'll do here in a bit, he's top of the list for me when we talk about the Titans. So after all my running my mouth there about the Titans and the Raiders game, Colin, what were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't have too much on this one. I wasn't able to watch much of it, but Gino was able to kind of not turn the ball over a million times and lose them the game. That was the main thing
Yep.
for him was just don't lose them the game because the Titans have struggled this year. So their win came when the Cardinals turned the ball over and lost them the game pretty much. I think for the Titans, they had to fire him, and I think doing it in the middle of the season, in my opinion, is better than doing it wait until the end of the year and doing it. And then you do see with football teams sometimes they'll play a little bit better after the coach is fired with the interim coach. You kind of see it, and not that Virginia Tech's really a good football team right now, but they did win their game immediately after firing
Yeah.
their head coach. So. Uh, could be something to look forward to for the Titans. Maybe they'll play a little bit better moving forward. And then Cam Ward, I mean, the arm talent's it's undeniable. He's going to be a good quarterback. Just needs to get some weapons around him. I know Van Jefferson dealt with him last year. He's not one of the top guys that you want to have as a
Yeah.
leading wide receiver. So once they get a few more pieces, I'm sure the Titans are going to be just fine.
Yeah, hopefully things can get figured out there. You definitely need to address that specifically, which is getting him some weapons. You can definitely do that in one off season when there's big time free agents available. You just got to be able to willing to spend to do it. Luckily, the Titans do have a ton of cap space. We're going to have leftover cap space from this year too that will carry over, and so they're going to have a lot of money going into next off season. There's some really nice free agents. It's just about attracting one to Tennessee. I think a really good quarterback can do that for you. It's just who's the coach going to be because players aren't going to want to come and play for a nobody. So it'll just be about who do we land. To quickly give some names as we are recapping, I'll ask your opinion after as well just to see what you think. But some of the names at the top of the list would be like a Joe Brady, offensive coordinator from the Buffalo Bills. He's a top tier guy. Obviously, he's running a Bills offense, which is one of the more dynamic top tier offenses in football. You'd be looking at Brian Flores. He's been unbelievable as a defensive coordinator since he was let go as a head coach. Part of his head coaching thing was the GM was trying to run a scandal on him and telling him to lose games. So he lost his job because he wouldn't follow along with the ploy. And so that kind of seems like he could get back into head coaching. And then, of course, Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator for Jim Harbaugh over at the Chargers. Of course, he was his defensive coordinator at Michigan as well. You know how good those two defenses have been. They are the number one scoring defense in the NFL last year. And with Michigan, they were the best defense in the country, have produced multiple very talented players come to the league. And then a few names that have been mentioned that would be linked to the Titans is Arthur Smith, who was obviously our offensive coordinator when we were the best we've been in a long time. He's done a great job with the Steelers this year, which is, I mean, a huge step up from what he was doing last year. You probably think a lot of that comes from the fact that his quarterback play has improved so
They have a
much.
quarterback now.
Um, Other names mentioned, John Gruden, who has said he wants to get back into coaching football. I think he's more wanting to get into the NFL game than he would be going to the college game because the NFL is what he was successful in. He won a Super Bowl, had a lot of success in the NFL, so there's maybe a world where they go after him. And then another guy that's not coaching right now is Mike McCarthy. And that's an interesting one because McCarthy's had a lot of success, but he's also got his question marks. I mean, the Rodgers situation, that didn't work out very well because Rodgers didn't like him. But he's had success at other places. Definitely is a name that's rumored and floated. if I was going to pick anybody and I just was able to line up a group of guys and say who's the best one, I mean, if you could get Steve Spagnuolo from the Chiefs, if you could just throw him a massive bag and say, "Do you want to finally be a head coach? We've got a little fun here to be had." I don't think that happens. I think out of the reasonable options, Brian Flores would maybe be the top of the list. Just go out and get a really good defensive mind. We've got some defensive pieces that he could have fun with, and then maybe hire like a Mike McDaniel when he gets fired from the Dolphins as their head coach. Because I still think he's a great offensive mind. He just isn't a head coach. And so you can maybe build a pretty good little staff. But we'll see what happens. You got any thoughts on any coaching candidates?
Yeah, I think they definitely need to get either, like you said, a defensive minded head coach and a really good offense coordinator or offensive minded head coach to help with Cam Ward's development. I think that would be huge for him. I do like the idea of like a Joe Brady, because I think Cam Ward and Josh Allen's game are somewhat similar, kind of like the Patrick Mahomes hold the ball really long and
Yeah, make plays.
right. Yeah. And then Brian Flores, he's incredible. And I think with the Titans defense, they already have some pieces there. And as much as he like disguises his schemes and everything, I think that that would be a really scary defense. Like I said, either an offensive minded head coach or a really good offensive coordinator, I think would be really good for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that's a must. You have to do that. And then obviously I'll float the last name, and this is probably the one that would be the A plus 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 higher.
Andy
That's
Reid.
what happens if the Ravens fire John Harbaugh. And if he is available, you call John Harbaugh the second he hits the market. And is there a world where it happens during the season? I don't think so. The Ravens will not fire John Harbaugh. He's earned the respect of keeping his job until the season ends. But if this Ravens team misses the playoffs, it feels like John Harbaugh is going to lose his job. It almost feels like a guarantee. If you get John Harbaugh, players will come play for you. John Harbaugh is known to be a player's head coach. So that's the name that's like, if he's fired, would be a phenomenal hire. And again, we'll see what happens. You got anything else?
Yeah. You don't think they'll get Andy Reid?
No, no, don't think Andy Reid is going to be available. Andy Reid, I think, might end up sticking with the Chiefs. I think he's got a good job there. He might not want to give that one away. I will say one more name just for fun: Bill Belichick. What happens if he's done with college football? It seems like that might be what happens here as he's done at the end of the year. Does he want to coach? Does he want to keep coaching? If not, he'll probably just hang it up and go back to media. I think he enjoyed that a lot. But if he doesn't want to hang it all up, the Titans would more than be more than happy to have him for a couple of years just to build a culture and then maybe bring in a guy that's on the staff already if he can get a good little staff build up. So there's a lot of names, and it's actually kind of fun because with Tech, the same right is if you can land a really good head coach, you can change things immediately. So it's just all about doing it, and I don't know who that guy can be. But as of now, those are a lot of the names that I wouldn't be mad about it. A lot of those names. I don't know how I feel about Arthur Smith just because he was already here, but that could be a positive because he might already have a good relationship with the owner. And Mike Borgonzi seems like a great GM because he built the Chiefs. So hang on to him if you can, and then get a coach in here that will work with him, and things could go pretty well for the future.
The Titans were really solid when Arthur Smith was there.
Yeah, I mean, we were one of the best teams in the NFL, especially on the offensive side. Tannehill and Derrick Henry were doing it, and it wasn't like Tannehill was Hall of Fame level quarterback by any means. So
Right.
they had success, and you would hope if he come back, they would find some way to replicate that. We'll move on beyond the Titans. Had a lot of talk about them there, but they are officially in the limelight when it comes to the NFL world, and it's not in a good way. It's in a we need a coach way. Moving on to Bengals Packers here. The Packers are able to get it done in what was a pretty good offensive showing, 27 points on the board, and what was an incredible defensive performance in the first half. But then the old man got things rolling and got the Bengals back in the game. The Packers were able to close it out and get it done, but he almost caused them to have two nightmares this season. Jordan Love, obviously, he performs at a pretty high level here. 259 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs is an incredible running back, one of the best in the league for sure. 93 yards, two touchdowns. And then Jamar Chase. This is a guy that has become very relevant once again because Joe Flacco loves to throw the ball. He always throws the ball a ton. He'll get it to his lead receiver and make him look like a superstar. So that's going to be really, really good for Jamar Chase the rest of the year. And I think it's going to be pretty good for T. Higgins as well. They just need to keep things going on offense. If you can hang in there and play this well against the Packers team, who's really good defensively. I think they've got some wins potentially in their future, and if they can get Burrow back with those 4 games at the end of the year, they might have a chance to make a little run. It's just Flacco's going to have to win them. I don't know, 6 games maybe 5 games until they get Burrow back. So it'll be hard to do, but they have a chance. And what were your thoughts overall on this game?
Yeah, the Bengals, I think, as much as I hate to say it, I think they are a little bit scarier now with Flacco compared to Jake Browning, just because, like you said, Flacco can really throw the ball around, and they've got Higgins and Chase that are two of the best receivers in the NFL. Arguably have one of the best receiving cores in the NFL, and then with a guy that can actually throw the ball now, that makes them a bit of a scary team. But the Packers, they did just enough to win this game. They almost gave it up there towards the end. It became a little bit of a game, and then they were able to kind of pull away late. Jordan Love, he played pretty good. I don't think he turned the ball over. I know that McPherson fans were pretty upset with him missing that kick late, but it was a super long field goal.
Yeah.
And then I know Tomlin, he said either what's the Bengals owner's name? I don't, or Browns owner's name, I'm not sure, but he said either he's way smarter than me or he knows something I don't, because he was not happy about Flacco going to the Bengals. Interdivision trade there to help the Bengals, and he said that the Browns thought enough of Flacco to start him day one. So I don't know why they would trade him now in mid-season if they thought enough of him to start him to help the Bengals, a team that's in their division. So we'll get onto that game as Pittsburgh plays the Bengals in this upcoming week. So we'll get onto that later.
Yeah, very interesting decision. You don't see in division trades very often, if at all, and especially not in a division like the AFC North, where all those teams pretty much hate each other. I mean, it's pretty widely talked about that those 4 teams are 4 of the biggest rivalries when it comes to those teams not liking each other. So definitely an interesting trade in the division, and I do think Flacco makes the Bengals just a little bit better to give them a chance in some of these games. Moving on to this next one, in a clash between two of the Titans, to reference back to my team in the NFC, Buccaneers and the Niners. They are both great football teams, both pushing to try to make a Super Bowl run. But man, oh man, is Baker Mayfield legit, man. This dude on that 3rd and 14 gets out of 2 sack attempts, breaks another tackle, and runs for a first down. There is no chance. I don't know how many quarterbacks do that. I think it looked like he looked like Lamar Jackson breaking out of a play and making, and he's not even that kind of quarterback. But it's just like Baker just has a will and a drive and a determination to win football games. And you love it. Like you have to love it because he just cares so much. Leads this offense, is 1,000% in the top of that MVP conversation, if not the leader for the MVP. Has a 5-1 Buccaneers team that's just so fun to watch. And on the flip side for the Niners, Mac Jones, he has a great day overall on his passing stats, but the 2 interceptions are really bad. You can't throw those interceptions against this team. The Buccaneers are way too good offensively. He did find Kendrick Bourne again, however. 5 catches, 142 yards. This is 2 weeks in a row where Kendrick Bourne has been unbelievable. You got to think he's still going to be a pretty important cog in the offense there when they get back a Kittle and some of their other pieces. But Baker is leading what is one of the best offenses in the entire NFL, and it's really fun to watch the Buccaneers play. What was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you completely about Baker being in the top of the MVP conversation. That play he made was incredible.
Yeah.
And I know watching the Chiefs Lions game, Mahomes made like a 7-yard scramble and he kind of slid, or he put his shoulder down and took a hit, and then Collinsworth was like, "What other quarterback is going to do that?" And then you see Baker literally run for
Yeah.
break 6 tackles and get a first down. Yeah, but yeah, like you said, Mac Jones played really well. The 2 interceptions were killer. The main difference between his stat line and Baker's stat line: Baker had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Mac Jones had no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So maybe you turn those around and 49ers win, but that was not the case. And Baker was doing this without his top receivers, so
Yeah.
that was super impressive. I did see a video of the receiver for the Buccaneers, the one that caught the
Yeah.
touchdown,
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was thought the MVP chants were for him, but
Uh,
no, they're for Baker.
yeah, he told, I can't remember who it was he said he told, but he was like, I was sitting there thinking, like, wow, I've not done anything this year. Why are they chanting MVP for me? And his teammate was like, it's for Baker, dude. He was like, yeah, that makes sense. But Baker's incredible. They've been able to fill in the shoes of Bucky Irving with Rashad White, who was a great running back before Bucky ever got there. So, really, really impressive from this team overall. I think the Buccaneers are easily one of the top contenders in the NFC moving forward. Rolling into this next game here, Lions taking on the Chiefs in what was supposed to be a really close, fun football game. And the Chiefs kind of run away with it. They look successful. They look like the team that can win a Super Bowl. Their defense stopped a really, really high-powered Lions offense. They throw for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns. Travis Kelce has one of his best games this season. It just seems like every time they need Kelce, he's open. He sets down in open space and just gets it. And he isn't as good as he used to be, but he's still a top tier tight end when especially because the connection that him and Mahomes have. For the Lions, you'd like to see a little bit more out of that offense. You got to have it against a team like this. And the defense that had been really good all year gives up 30 points, but it does make sense when you're playing the Chiefs. They're just so good. Gibbs has an all right day. Monty doesn't really get going, and overall, they were kind of just shut down. It's really impressive from Spagnuolo and that incredible Chiefs defense. What was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the Chiefs were kind of able to get the offense going again. Like you said, Kelsey was kind of back. He's obviously slower than he once was, not the agile tight end he once was, but he's still able to find the soft spots in the defense. And 6 catches for 78 yards, and then he almost had a touchdown flipped on his head
Yeah,
on like the 1 yard line.
yeah,
And I hate to be that guy, but you mean to tell me the Chiefs did not commit one penalty this game?
yeah. That was
Not
rough.
one. I mean, they outplayed the Lions definitely, and the Lions only had 4 penalties. But I mean, come on, they
Zero
definitely hit
penalties.
Tom.
Yeah, you could call holding on every play. So
Right. But yeah, overall, the Chiefs, they kind of look like they were able to get that offense going again. And the scary part is they get Rashee Rice back this week, which could makes that offense even more dangerous. So it, scary things there. And then if they're able to get the run game going at all, I mean, that's the main thing for them, which I think Pacheco didn't have a terrible game this game, but he's still, I feel like back when the Chiefs were really rolling, they were able to run the ball 5 yards a carry or
yeah.
pass the ball 10. It didn't matter. So yeah, but the Chiefs are definitely, I think they're a team to look out for. I know they're 3-3, but I think they're definitely better than that.
Yeah, they've stabilized things. They've gotten back to what is Chiefs football. A study has been done actually on the Chiefs and their playoff. More so, it was a study on the playoff and how they got their flags thrown on them. But overall, a study on the Chiefs for how penalized they were from 2015 to 2023, and it's a study done by UTEP. And this study states specifically that the Chiefs have benefited from slanted officiating from 2015 to 2023 and considered or coincided directly with the rise of their market as a franchise. One of the findings suggested that the league's financial health was at stake, and so rule enforcement may have subtly shifted to protect the market's appeal. And that they did the same study on the Chiefs franchise or the Patriots dynasty, and there was no shift in officiating. And so it kind of overall officiating, just average penalties. The Patriots ended up being right in that same grouping with the rest of the NFL, whereas the Chiefs, they've had slightly less penalties called on them. And also, it said that one of the other most important parts of that study was on third downs, more penalties that would result in first downs have been called for them than any other team in football. So, 5 yard illegal contact, automatic first down, or a 10-yard holding, automatic first down. All those being called more frequently for the Chiefs than any other team in the sport. And it's happened for 8 years. That doesn't just happen by accident for 8 years. So it does seem like to protect the market appeal of the Chiefs that they're getting beneficial calls. Now, every superstar ever has gotten beneficial calls. That's a fact. LeBron James in the NBA gets beneficial calls. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this year in his MVP run got plenty of friendly calls. But the superstars get friendly calls because the refs almost feel like how did he not do good on that play? Like he's a superstar. He should be better. So the bad teams or the bad players or the not even necessarily the bad players, but the guys that just aren't recognized don't get as many calls until they become recognized. So you could argue that side of things, and I'll never be on the side of think like there's no way sports are rigged. Now, obviously, there's been times in the history of sports where things have been rigged, but that was like the '04 playoffs in the NBA where like the mafia was paying the refs to make the Kings lose to the Kobe-led Lakers. That's happened, but that was like proven and investigated, and like that wouldn't be allowed to happen with all the money flowing through sports as it is now. So again, there's question marks about it. You're right. How do they go a whole game without a penalty? It's impossible. There is at least one play that should be penalized. I mean, stuff happens on every play that can be called, and so to go a whole game without it is definitely a huge question mark when they needed to win this game instead of dropping to 2-4. Last but not least, if you want to talk about this fight that took place, I know it involved one of your favorite players ever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the game between Brian Branch and Juju, but after the game, Brian Branch, he kind of Mahomes was kind of trying to give him a high five, and he just kind of completely ignored him. And then he just walked straight up to Juju and kind of slapped him in the face. They had helmets on, but kind of hit him in the face. And then one of the Chiefs players took Brian Branch back, and then Juju came after him, and then Brian Branch kind of just manhandled Juju there for a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things is you can hear in the video of the that's like up close in the fight, you can just hear like there's hundreds of people, or probably not hundreds, but a bunch of people are just like screaming and stuff. But out of all of them, you can hear Mahomes' voice, obviously.
Yeah.
You just pick it out. You know
Yeah.
it's him.
Where the frog
But
is yelling, "Stop! Stop!"
but Brian Branch has been suspended for one game, which is probably fair.
Yeah.
I don't think anything happened to Juju, which is obviously kind of fair as well. He kind of got beat up a little bit. There's a picture of him with a bloody nose. So, yeah, overall, not a good look for Brian Branch, though.
No, and you got to think there's going to be some in locker room issues with it as well. But for Juju, that's not the right person to pick on because Brian Branch has been known to lay people out on the football field. He is a hard-hitting safety that is headhunting. So obviously he wanted to headhunt after the game as well. The Chiefs again get the victory, and the Lions they fall to 4-2. But there's no concerns I don't think for either of these teams. They both seem like they're going to be playoff teams as long as they can stay healthy. And like you said, the Chiefs are only adding to that offense. Going down into our Monday night football games, both of which were really great games. The Bills and the Falcons, the first half completely controlled by the Falcons. They played really good first half football. Bijan Robinson is a monster superstar player, scored over 40 fantasy points for me this week. My team sucks, so I still lost, but again, it's fun to watch Bijan play. He's a superstar player. We all knew he was going to be that. Goes for a crazy, crazy bunch of yards. Just seems like he can't tackle him in open field either. The tackle attempt by the Bills defender was pretty sorry, but Bijan is a difference maker. And it always seems like that above camera angle that they have, like the flying over, it's always Bijan. Like every single time you get that really cool angle, it's Bijan Robinson making a play, but I guess he does it quite often, so he gets the camera on him a good bit. On top of that, Michael Penix plays really good in this game. Drake London was phenomenal, 10 for 158 and a touchdown. And I know they're the Bills, and there shouldn't be too many concerns. But go take a look at who the Bills have beat. They beat the 1-5 Ravens. They beat a I can't remember the record, and then they beat the Saints one in whatever they are, 1-5, 1-4, and I think did they beat the Jets already, who are 0 and whatever. I don't think they've beat a team that's won more than two games, and so they played their first two, I guess you call tests. The Ravens were a test to start of the year for sure, but they lose to the Patriots, and then they played kind of underwhelming football against the Falcons, where they looked bad in the first half, and the second half didn't look much better. Defensively, they woke up and started making some plays, but Josh Allen kind of struggled a little bit in the second half. He had that weird play where he run out of the pocket and had a wide open dump down to his running back and kind of tried to flip it out and get kind of flashy with the pass instead of just kind of setting his feet, or even not even setting his feet, but just throwing a forward pass, and he would have had a wide open completion. So question marks for sure. This doesn't look like a really great Bills team the last 2 weeks. They looked very beatable, and again, their wins are over pretty bad teams. Now, to play the other side of things, I'm not worried at all. I think the Bills are phenomenal. I think that they showed week one what they can do to a really good team. That week one, the Ravens looked like a really good team. They were fully healthy and had every piece that was supposed to be a Super Bowl contending or Super Bowl favorite. So they were able to get that done and make a huge comeback, score 41 points. So do I have concerns for the Bills? No. But this is impressive from the Falcons. This is a team that lost 30-0 to the Panthers and then come out and beat the Bills 24-14. And Penix looked great. Robinson looked great. London looked great. Pitts got involved. Algier had a touchdown. So they have so many weapons on this offense, and they've done a great job at addressing needs on the defensive side. They improved drastically on their pass rush, and they improved that secondary. This Falcons team may have something to look forward to the rest of the year. And for the Bills, they'll definitely need to bounce back and get a win after dropping the last two. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the Falcons I really can't get a read on.
Yeah, I know.
They dropped a game 30-0 to the Panthers, which, like we said, the Panthers are 3-0 at home. So who knows? Maybe that Charlotte's a powerhouse to play in. I don't
Yeah,
know
barely.
when that happened, but the Bills, like you said, they're a great team. They're I think maybe a little bit of concern at wide receiver. They don't
Yes,
really have too many great options there, but I mean they haven't really had that many options in the past couple years either. Uh, and they've still managed to win a bunch of games, so not too concerned there. But I think this is more just an impressive win for the Falcons. And I mean, their only two losses are that Panthers loss and then a loss to the Buccaneers. And then the past 2 weeks, they beat the Commanders and the Bills, which are two playoff teams.
yeah,
So maybe the Falcons are good this year. I'm not sure. Still can't get a read on them because of that 30 to
yeah,
nothing loss. It'd be different if it was like a close loss, but it
yeah.
was 3-0.
They got
Yeah.
blown out by the Panthers of all
Yeah.
teams. Yeah.
I'm not really sure what to expect, but if the offense plays this well every week, I mean this was impressive with
Yes.
Drake London 10 for 158, a touchdown, and then Bijan was unstoppable.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And then I mean he's good through the air as well. So if they can keep this up, they'll be definitely a dangerous team and a fun team to watch.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the thing coming into the season was people were talking about who would be the most fun to watch. They just have so many weapons. Like if Kyle Pitts gets going and he has this year, he's finally looked pretty good again, like he did his rookie season. And then they just have weapons on top of weapons, and they have a quarterback that can get the ball out to all of them. So it has been really really fun to watch this team play. And the Bills again, I'm not super worried about them, but I do think they have to address the receiver position to get a superstar at some point. Their Kincaid is probably their best target. That or Khalil Shakir, who plays a lot of the slot position. Keon Coleman could be really good. We saw that week one. He was kind of unleashed and had a really good game, and then seems like he's just kind of not involved in the offense anymore. It would be interesting to see if there's any of those really like bad teams, like maybe the Titans would be willing to ship off a Calvin Ridley, or maybe the Saints. Yeah, I think they'd be crazy to do it, but if they wanted to move off an Olave, I don't know. I'd have to really look at it and find teams and see who's able to move pieces. Maybe like this could be an interesting one if the Ravens continue playing like they are. If you see like a Rashad Bateman or maybe even DeAndre Hopkins, it's to the end of his career, but he can still be a guy for somebody, and especially the Bills who have so many other options, especially in their run game with Cook and Allen on the ground. So who knows? This team has to win some games soon though, because the two losses in a row and the rest of their wins don't all really look all that impressive. And we'll go ahead and move on to this last game on Monday Night Football. The Bears take a very close win over the Commanders with a game-winning field goal. Moody comes in and kicks in four field goals after what was an embarrassing season for him last year. Huge. I mean, the Bears are able to get it done. They don't have an unbelievable day, but DeAndre Swift was unbelievable. Him alone in this offense, first great game from him. He really broke out. He seemed like every time they needed him to make a play, he was going to do it. He's their leading receiver, he's their leading rusher, and he was their best player in this football game. Ben Johnson just always has a way to get his running backs going. He did a great job doing that with the Lions. And then for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, he just fumbled the game away on a really slick, tough conditions to be playing in, but you just got to have better ball security. You can't take it lightly when you're handing the ball off. It's all on him. I know people want to blame JCM, but he lost the ball and threw it into his running back's chest. His running back ain't expecting that. There's nothing he can do to get on that ball. So very unfortunate for the Commanders. They threw the game away. They had a lead late and blow it because of that and the fumble, or that and some other scores late in the game. Again, the Commanders, I still think they're really good. Their defense looked great last week. Their defense played okay this week. They got to get things going again. They got to get some wins on the board. They're 3-3. For the Bears, Ben Johnson, he's a great coach. He's shown that a couple times, and he did whatever he needed to do to win this game on offense. DeAndre Swift, again, being the star player, gets it done for him. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you completely with the Ben Johnson. I think he was a great pickup for the Bears, who haven't really done much in the past. I don't know. It's been a while
Long time.
since they were good. But Caleb Williams, he didn't have a bad game. Maybe starting to really get his feel in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I know with Ben Johnson, that's definitely helping him out. That's why I think like a hire like that for Tennessee would be huge for Cam Ward. And then DeAndre Swift led him in both rushing and receiving with only two catches. I'm assuming one of
Yeah.
those was a really big play.
Yes.
But then for the Bears, that's three wins in a row after starting off 0-2. So that's great for them.
Who knows? I think actually Jalen Lane may have had one of the better days for
Yeah.
the Commanders. Had a huge play, and that just seems like an issue that they have now. And so we'll see what happens. I think defensively too, they can't give up 25 points. Now part of that was turnovers, and that hurts them. Daniels does look like he's infused himself back into the offense and can score some points, but they kind of died there at the end of the game, and it almost looked like they played a little too safe, and that's what blew it for them. Again, I think that this was a good week of football. There was a lot of fun games, and obviously we'll go ahead and move on over to our picks now for next week. Obviously, looking at the first game of the week, we've got some Thursday night football on Prime. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in what could be a really fun game. Obviously, Joe Flacco, new addition to that Bengals offense, had him going in the second half last week. Jamar Chase had a great game. T. Higgins looked a little bit better. The run game kind of got established again just because they were able to pass the ball and not turn the ball over. And then the Steelers, who've had one of the best defensive units in all of football, and their offense with Aaron Rodgers has looked a lot better than it has in a long time. It looks like an offense that if they have to pass the ball up and down the field, they can pass the ball up and down the field. So really, really fun to watch them as of late. I'll pick this one first, just give you a little bit of time to think about it. Don't think there's a lot of thinking you probably have to do over there, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh on the road against Cincy. This would be one of the best starts the Steelers have had in a while. Their defense, to me, just looks so strong. It looks like they've got the ability to score points defensively, which is a huge thing. The Bengals' offensive line has been known to be terrible. TJ Watt's going to get after an old Joe Flacco who is not evading a sack at this point in his career. And I don't love the Bengals' running situation. I think Chase Brown's a good running back, but their offensive line kind of sucks. So he just hasn't been able to get going. And if Pittsburgh can just control Jamar Chase, don't let him go for 150 yards or something crazy, and just score points, I think they'll be fine. I think their defense is good enough to get off the field and not allow some crazy high scoring game. So give me Pittsburgh to get a victory against Cincinnati on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm gonna roll with Pittsburgh. Although I do think it's gonna be a really close game. I know, like I mentioned earlier, Mike Tomlin is not happy about having to face Joe Flacco. I know last year when they played Indianapolis, he told the defense to keep Anthony Richardson upright because he didn't
Yes.
want to play Joe Flacco. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson got hurt in the first quarter. Flacco took over and the Steelers lost. So I think it'll be a really close game. But I think this defense it's the best equipped defense they've had to stop the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins combo there for the Bengals. And then I think it's definitely helpful that the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow. I will say Pittsburgh has not won a divisional road game on Thursday night football since Thursday night football became a thing. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can stop that streak this game though. So I'm gonna roll with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and one more quick point on that game. You are right about Joe Flacco. He has a history of liking playing Steelers because of who he played for before, who is probably the Steelers' biggest rival in that division. So it will be interesting to see the old man with the best team he's probably had around him when it just comes to the receivers. Now, obviously, that offensive line is a big step back from how good those Ravens teams were. We'll move on to the Sunday day slate. We'll get another Wembley Stadium, London, England game with the Rams coming off a big win, taking on Jacksonville, who got that loss last week against the Seahawks. I think the Rams, again, I love their defense. I think they're really, really good. I think Puka, if he doesn't play, is a huge loss. But I still trust Devontae Adams. I think now that you're scheming the offense around him being the wide receiver one, they can change the scheme up to fit him better than Puka. Puka's better at those like get out in open field and make plays. Devontae Adams is a deep ball threat, and he's a monster when it comes to just making plays. He's so good, has great hands, makes a lot of catches. So I am actually going to take the Rams here to get a win over Jacksonville in England. I just trust Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay more than I trust Trevor Lawrence and a brand new coach in Liam Cohen.
Yeah, I'm with you. Exact. I love that point. I do not trust Jacksonville right now. I know they're a good football team, but I think they're a little bit worse than what their record says right now. Uh, and I think the Rams are a really good football team. I trust Stafford going to London and playing. He's been in the league for a ton of years now, so I think he can adapt to something like playing in London better than maybe like a Trevor Lawrence who's still fairly new to the league. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Los Angeles here.
Yeah, again, I love Stafford. I just think he can play anywhere and probably be successful. Moving on to this next one, New Orleans taking on Chicago. I think Chicago proved a lot last week with their ability to get a huge win over a good Washington team. Love their offense. I think it's going to be one of the most high-powered offenses. I mean, look at the weapons that Caleb Williams has. He has Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift. I mean, we're talking about the skill positions. They're basking in the riches of skill positions, and who's better at using skill positions than Ben Johnson? I mean, he is the best at getting those guys on the field and letting them make plays. So I think Chicago is just going to be able to outscore New Orleans, and even if Spencer Rattler plays good and New Orleans is in the game, I just trust Chicago more. I think that their offense can score late if they need it to happen, and their defense has been able to force some turnovers. So give me Chicago, especially since they're at home at Soldier Field.
Yep, I'm with you on this one as well. I'm a roll with Chicago. I like New Orleans. I think they're not a terrible football team, and they definitely play really hard to be a 1-5 team. I
Yeah.
think they've been in a ton of close games, so I feel like they're probably in the year definitely with more than a few wins. But I think Chicago's offense is just a little bit too high powered, like you said, with all the weapons they have, and they're coming off a 3-game win streak. I think they'll make it 4 here.
Moving on to our next one, Miami taking on Cleveland. And man, is this kind of a sleeper here. Not necessarily because of the talent. There is some fun talent on the field. Miami has, Waddle and Devon Achane, who's incredible. And then for Cleveland, you have Quinshon Judkins, who's looking to really bounce back. And then the question marks at quarterback of Dylan Gabriel potentially being the guy for the future for them. I do love Cleveland specifically because of their defense in this game. I think that Myles Garrett got shut down last week. That's not happening 2 weeks in a row. And goodness, do I not want to see Tua take some huge shot. And Myles Garrett's one of those guys that can deliver one of those. It is definitely worrying for Miami. They're going to get pass rushed a ton. Cleveland's defense is actually pretty solid. They were able to contain some teams this season. And I think that Cleveland, if they can just establish the ground game, and everybody can establish the ground game against Miami, they're just kind of a weak football team. I'll take Cleveland to be able to run the ball and just get it done with a pretty probably dirty game, not very fun to watch, but Cleveland just kind of has that tough team that can maybe get it done here, so I'm gonna take them at home.
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins in this one. I just think that offense has too many weapons. I know their defense is not the best, but I think as long as Tua doesn't turn the ball over, which he tends to do
It
quite
does.
often.
Does it a lot.
I think if he can limit his turnovers, I think they should be able to win this one. I know Cleveland's offense just I think there was a stat they haven't scored more than 17 points since week 13 last year. So they've just really been struggling. So I think as like I said, as long as Miami's offense doesn't turn the ball over to them too many times, I think those weapons are gonna be enough for Miami to win this one. And we can also go to this one for $36.
Yes, yeah, easy game to get into. I'm assuming you probably can get some decent seats because Cleveland is not, they don't have a lot of fun watching this team anymore. Moving on to our next one here, New England taking on Tennessee, and you always seem to get that little bit of a boost when you fire your coach, like you said. I think the Titans actually may have been saving it for this moment. If you remember earlier on the podcast, I mentioned fire him right before you play New England because that's Vrabel, and you can't possibly let Callahan coach against Vrabel, who you fired because Callahan sucks and Vrabel's pretty solid. But I don't think Tennessee has a chance in this game. New England beat the Buffalo Bills, and New England is playing really good football. Drake May is actually a great quarterback and can definitely throw all over this offense or this defense, which is down some big time players now. Femi Oladejo unfortunately fractured his leg, so that there goes our third round pick, playing or second round pick, playing some edge rusher for us, and we're already really weak in that department. I do think that Jeffrey Simmons will probably get after Drake May a couple times, maybe make a couple plays, and I think we'll probably shut down their run game as a whole. I don't think they run the ball much, but I just think Drake May's way too good. Vrabel's going to want revenge for us firing him. The positives for this game, I don't have to see Brian Callahan on the sideline anymore, so that'll make me happy. I can at least smile when the game starts, although I probably will be crying when it ends. But I do think if Cam Moore can get going, just have a really fun game. He's probably going to be without Calvin Ridley, unfortunately, due to a hamstring injury. So we'll see maybe Alec Aomaner or Chimere Dike or somebody else get going. Heck, why don't we just call up Xavier Restrepo, his 1,000-yard receiver from last year in college? Maybe give that guy a chance instead of Tyler Lockett, but I don't know. I'm not the coach, so I'm not making those decisions. The guy that was making those decisions sucked at it anyways. So there's an argument to be made. That's the best job in the world is being a bad head coach because you get paid to do nothing for the next couple years. But again, off my rant, give me New England to win this game, probably pretty big in Nashville.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I think that you get a little boost whenever you do fire your coach, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. Maybe if they're playing like a Miami or a Cleveland or something this week. New England has been really good this year. They're 4-2. One of those losses, they turned the ball over 6 times, so 2 times within the 5 yard line. So I don't expect that to happen this week. So I'm gonna go with New England this week.
Yeah, moving on to this next one. This is a quick pick. I don't have to say too much. Kansas City is far better than Las Vegas. I don't think Vegas has much of a chance. They were in a game with us last week, and that was with Brian Callahan coaching, the worst coach in football. You're now facing Andy Reid, the best coach in football, and Patrick Mahomes, and a team that just got back their best receiver. I would hate to be the Vegas Raiders going on the road to play in Arrowhead. Give me the Chiefs in a blowout.
Yeah, I don't think this will be much of a game at all. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs in a blowout as well. I think it's definitely scary that they're getting Rashee Rice back, especially if he can revert back to the form he was in last year before he got injured. I know in 2 or 3 weeks he just went off. So
Yeah.
if they can get that back, that is going to be really scary.
Moving on to our next one here, Philadelphia taking on Minnesota in Minneapolis, and I've talked about it once before. This is one of the best home field advantages in all the NFL. They play really, really good at home. They get a really good crowd backing them up, and the Vikings have been playing really promising defensive football. They finally got Justin Jefferson going the last 2 weeks. Their run game can get established, and I think they actually have a chance in this game. But I just can't see Philly dropping another one. They can't keep losing these games. If they do, there's going to be real conversation that they'll start tumbling out of control. AJ Brown's he's going to be out of there. So I just think Philly is able to get it done, but expect a really, really close football game against a pretty good Minnesota team. Philly wins by maybe a field goal at the end.
So we did a little research off camera about who the Vikings are going to be starting this week. It looks like it's kind of up in the air right now, leaning towards Wentz, which I personally like more than if it was McCarthy. So with that, I am going to go with the Vikings. I think Philadelphia has looked really bad the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and I'm going to kind of look for that to continue. I think if McCarthy plays, and he's not a bad quarterback, I don't think. I think he'll be fine in the NFL, but he is very turnover prone and has not looked great so far. I think the Eagles defense will be able to get to him, but if it's Wentz, I think that he'll be able to control the game a little bit better. But overall, I'm gonna go with Minnesota.
And he'll have a little revenge game from back in the day. I don't think he left on bad terms, but he obviously used to be an Eagle before he broke his neck. So that was a pretty severe injury there. But obviously he was able to bounce back and have a decent little time here with Minnesota. Moving on to our next one here, taking place in MetLife, the worst stadium in all of football, not because of the teams that are playing there, because the field sucks and there's tons of injuries on it. So I hope both these teams are able to stay healthy. Carolina taking on New York. And if we get the Carolina Panthers from last week, I love this team over New York. New York has looked really, really bad the last 2 weeks. We talked about how they weren't the worst team ever, but last week they looked like the worst team ever. I mean, they threw for like 50 total yards and had a combined offensive total of negative yards. So really embarrassing from them. I don't expect much out of New York. Give me Carolina on the road.
Yeah, I don't really expect much out of New York either after last week. I mean, that was just an embarrassing offensive performance, honestly. The defense looked good, but if the offense is going to have negative passing yards for as a team, I just don't think you'll win any game. So, and Carolina's been playing well, so I'm going to go with them this week.
Moving on to our next one here, New York taking on Denver, and this looks like a revamped New York offense once they brought in Scattaboo and Jackson Dart, but I just think Denver's a little bit too good defensively. Also, that mile high advantage they get because of the atmosphere, it's a huge deal. I mean, Denver, they practice in it. They're used to it. Scattaboo, I don't think he's used to it. He hasn't been in the crazy altitudes, so him running through people won't be as easy. He'll be huffing puffing a little bit more. Give me Denver to get a really close win over a strong New York team, but I just think Denver's a little bit better.
Yeah, I like Denver here as well, although I do probably like New York to cover the spread. I
Yeah.
think that's a little bit much. Denver is not coming off of the best week playing the Jets. They did get the win, but the offense did not look great. But like you said, I think that home field advantage is going to be huge for them. Dart nor Scattaboo, obviously, as rookies, have played in Denver, so they don't really know what it's like. So I'm going to go with Denver this week.
Moving on to our next one here. Indianapolis taking on the Chargers, and what should be a really fun game. These are two of the top teams in the AFC. I do like the Chargers in this game. I don't know how much I trust Indianapolis to just keep on rolling. Maybe they will. I mean, 5-1, and they've looked really, really good the whole entire time. But they were vulnerable a little bit to that kind of Frankenstein offense in the Cardinals. Like I said, they were tore apart, and this is a team where you're facing Justin Herbert, and his lead receivers are Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnston, if healthy, and Keenan Allen. That's a far better receiver room than Zay Jones being the lead guy. So I just trust the Chargers. I love Harbaugh. I think he's a great head coach. They'll get a huge win here to kind of dethrone the Indianapolis Colts as the lead team in the conference. Give me the Los Angeles Chargers in a really close game.
Yeah, as much as I think the Chargers are a better team, I just had to go with Indianapolis here until they start to lose games. I'm gonna probably keep picking them. I don't I know Daniel Jones is definitely not as good a quarterback as Justin Herbert, but they've just been able to find ways to win, especially with Jonathan Taylor kind of going off this year. So I'm gonna go with Indianapolis.
Moving on to this next one, Washington taking on Dallas. And this, I guess, will be my upset of the week. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys at home here. Washington's defense has kind of concerned me a little bit. And Dallas, they're throwing the ball all over the place. And they're getting back CeeDee Lamb potentially. I think the jolt of getting back a CeeDee Lamb and having George Pickens playing some of the best football he's played in his entire career, they have a great run game. And this is just kind of a heated rivalry. The Washington Commanders dropped to 3-4, and Dallas gets a huge win in the return of CeeDee Lamb. I think that's just going to be a really fun game to watch, and I think they'll be able to get it done.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a super close game, and it should be really good. Dallas's offense is incredible, and that just the defense, I don't trust it enough right now. So I am going to go with Washington, which Washington has not been playing too great as of late. I think they'll do enough to beat the Cowboys this week at home, which I'm not sure why tickets are $22 to this game
Yeah, I know.
either. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think this will be a super close game, but I'm gonna go with Washington.
I think people are just kind of trying to revolt against Jerry World down there in Dallas.
Could be.
Moving on to this next one, Green Bay taking on Arizona, and this kind of seems like a quick pick to me. No Marvin Harrison, no lead running back, and potentially no Kyler Murray. Green Bay's defense is way, way too good to lose to Jacoby Brissett and a bunch of backups. So give me Green Bay to get a huge win here in Glendale.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think Kyler Murray or Jacoby Brissett, either way, I like Green Bay here. I think like you mentioned, that defense is just too good, and then Jordan Love's been playing pretty good so far this year, so I like Green Bay here.
Moving on to our next one, Atlanta taking on San Francisco in San Fran. I think San Francisco comes off that loss that they didn't have great quarterback play from Mac Jones. There's the potential that Brock Purdy returns. I do think if he's there, I would love this team, but I'm going to take another upset on the road here with Atlanta. Give me this offense that's been rolling. They've got all their weapons, and San Francisco has none of their weapons. So even if Brock Purdy's on the field, I'm concerned about the targets and who they're going to go to. I just like Atlanta the way they're rolling right now, and the offense has been really, really impressive, and the defense has some playmakers that can get after the quarterback. And if it's Mac Jones, you never know what Mac Jones will do. Could throw a couple interceptions again. So give me Atlanta on the road.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on this one. I think that Atlanta should be able to win this game. I think it'll be kind of like we mentioned, we can't really get a read on Atlanta. I
No.
think if they win this game, we'll know for sure that they're a legit good team. I think San Francisco, like you mentioned, maybe might have Brock Purdy back, but honestly, either way, I like Atlanta in this game.
Moving on to our Monday night football games. As you see, sadly, we have another 10 p.m. kickoff that will be rolling late into the night for me and Colin. But obviously, we'll talk about this first one because this is the one that I think everybody will be tuned into. Tampa Bay taking on Detroit at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. This is a phenomenal game. We talked about some ticket prices, $232 to get in the gate. This will be really, really fun. Two extremely high-powered offenses, two defenses that have played pretty good football. Detroit coming off of a not so great performance, but it was the Chiefs, and they've always got things figured out. I expect a really, really good, close football game. I think Tampa Bay, the late game heroics from Baker Mayfield, I think they keep on rolling. I think that 5.5 points is kind of crazy for Detroit. I know it's a home game and the home field advantage will be nice, but Tampa Bay's look like the best team in the NFC. I don't see how they're 5.5 point underdogs. So give me I guess, upset on the road against Detroit, and partially due to the fact that probably all of his weapons not playing, but Baker Mayfield seems like he can do anything with anybody on the field. So just give me a huge win from the Buccaneers. Hopefully they'll have somebody out there running routes for them. We'll see what happens, but I just like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I like Detroit in this one. I do agree with you that 5.5 points is kind of crazy, because of how good Tampa Bay's been this year. I look for Detroit to bounce back after losing to the Chiefs this past week, though. I look for their offense to really kind of dominate, in the ways that it had the weeks two through not last week.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, though, has been super impressive this year. I think Baker, like we've mentioned, is up there, maybe number one right now for MVP. But I just think Detroit's offense and the defense, I look for them to bounce back after giving up 30 to the Chiefs. And then, so I like Detroit here, but I also want to mention, I think I forgot to mention during the recap, that was the first knee that Tampa Bay has taken all year was in the last game, which is absolutely crazy
That's
considering
absurd,
they've
yeah.
only lost one game.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat. It just shows you how good Baker Mayfield is at the end of those games. He's just able to find a way to go out and win them when they're losing. Last but not least, I will say Detroit definitely should be the favorite here just because of the injuries to Tampa Bay. But I just always think that Baker has a chance. And if Baker gets this done against Detroit and proves once again that he can win these big time games, I think he's the easy pick for MVP this season. We'll roll on into this last game here. Houston taking on Seattle at 10 p.m. EST. Of course, being on the West Coast is why they're doing that. And I think Seattle is the better football team here. I think that they got a really impressive win over another of the AFC South opponents last week. I think they're going to get it done here against Houston. I think Houston showed some positive momentum coming into this game. Obviously, they played well in their last one, but I just think Seattle's a better overall football team. I think that we've talked about it before with home field advantages. This is one of the best ones. They have that 12th man in Seattle. So I like Darnold to just keep rolling, keep doing what he's doing, and Seattle gets a win here.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one as well. I think Seattle's a good football team, especially with Darnold. I think it was a great move by them to get rid of Geno when they did. He was good for him, but
Yeah.
obviously this year he has not been great, and Darnold has been really, really good. So I like Seattle in this one.
And that will do it for our picks this week. Obviously, had a lot of fun making these selections. There was a lot of good close ones. We should get a really, really fun Monday Night Football game. There's a couple other games this week. Of course, Thursday night, getting the Steelers on prime time. Should be a good one for you to tune into. So I'll give you the floor right here, Colin. You got anything you want to say?
Yeah, I kind of sound crazy saying it's like a must-win game for Pittsburgh, but after this week, they've got the Colts, the Chargers, and Green Bay coming up in a row. So you could be looking at maybe a like a 5-4 possibly if they don't win this game, or 5-3, something like that. Not a must win, but it would be really nice if you could win and kind of extend your lead in the division. Because I think in the last 3 weeks or in the last 2 weeks, the division is like 1-7, and Pittsburgh's the only win. So, or something crazy like that. But yeah, so it would be really nice if they could pick up a win this week. I'll definitely be tuned in on Thursday night watching.
Yeah, and that's been one I'll catch for sure as well. I haven't watched a ton of Steelers. I obviously caught that early game they played, but that'll be a fun one to tune into because, of course, they should be pretty good to see them play in that one. Thursday night football also a pretty fun broadcast. I love how Amazon Prime does things. When they're spending as much money as they are for one game, they obviously can have really high level production. And it'll also be fun to see who they get on that post game interview because if they do get a victory. Somebody will hop on the broadcast and do a post-game interview, and I think it would be pretty funny if you had Aaron Rodgers up there talking to Fitzpatrick, who is younger than him but already out of the league. And that would just be a fun moment because those two old guys playing quarterbacks, obviously both of them were two of the most fun quarterbacks ever to watch playing in the NFL. Obviously, I'll watch the Titans take on the Patriots in what will be a revenge game for Mike Vrabel, which I am not excited about because he will come out in there and probably beat us by 50 if he can. Obviously, I hope Cam Ward looks great. It'll be interesting to see what the Titans do the rest of the season because tanking is probably the best option. Moving off some of your older pieces could also be a viable option as well. Want to hold on to some big time names like a Jeffrey Simmons. I'd love to hold on to, and just improvement for Cam Ward. That's the most important thing. See how he can get better as the season goes on, and just see if some of those rookie receivers that we drafted, or even the rookie tight end and Gunnar Helm, can just step up and fill the role and the needs for weapons because man, we've struggled at that position for a while now since trading A.J. Brown. Obviously, looking forward to a great week of picks. We will have another week, obviously, next week, Wednesday. You'll see this exact same style of video with a recap and a pick 'em. And of course, look for my college football pick 'em on Thursday. It should be one of the more fun ones. We'll have a little, like I said before, brotherly banner on there, and they'll go after each other a little bit on the Tennessee Alabama game because that's a very heated rivalry amongst the two of them. Obviously, I'll have more playoff baseball coverage as soon as those series finish, and it kind of looks like those series could finish quick. Both 2-0 leads for the Mariners, and then a 2-0 lead for the Dodgers, where their starting pitching has looked absolutely dominant. So, two of the best teams in the sport. Obviously, they look like they're two of the best teams in the sport, as they should. Anything else you got to add on here, Colin?
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a ton of stuff coming out. This is like one of the best times of the year for a sports fan. You've got almost something going on every day to watch. Yeah, so a real fun time and a lot of stuff you can put out on your channel.
Yep, and obviously we'll look forward to getting that mock draft out at some point soon. Could potentially get it out this weekend. Like I said, if I got a day, I can film it and get it edited and posted. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, it can be like me, Colin, Dalton, Hoppy, get a couple people on here, and we can divvy up the teams and pick for those teams, and it'll be a really fun video. A lot of those mock draft videos have done pretty good on my channel too, so you guys like to see that kind of content as well. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Like, subscribe, comment if you do enjoy all the content. Check it all out. It helps a ton if you guys can go tune into each and every video. And we'll see you back next Wednesday for some more recaps. Thank you guys again so much for joining us, and peace.
Peace.